I ironed the navy shirt she liked because she said it made my eyes look lighter, set 2 tumblers on the counter to catch the last of the ice's chatter, and reheated the saffron risotto I'd practiced twice in secret, so I wouldn't overstir it again, because tonight, she said, would be ours. No phones, no quick check-ins, no glow of work emergencies swallowing her face. I even cracked the window to let the city in, just enough. A ribbon of car horns, the distant laughter, the soft watery hiss of tires after a brief evening rain. And I lit the stub of the candle we'd saved from an anniversary we never really celebrated because plans kept collapsing like tents in a sudden wind. "I'll be there by 8, she'd texted at 6, and I believed her more than I trusted the clock ticking in steady disapproval above the stove. The risotto held its patience as long as it could, then sank into a tired slump, and still I believed. There's a religion in loving someone who breaks their own promises. You become the priest of making excuses, the acolyte of she's really trying. I put on music she liked, jazz that never resolved, and rehearsed the small talk I hoped would bridge us back. Say you're sorry you've been distant. Say you miss how she steals the blanket with her whole body. Say you want to be teammates again. Say. At 8:05 I took the tumblers to the balcony to listen for her heels in the hall. At 8:20 I sent a light, no pressure safe? And at 8:30 I silenced the phone before I could watch the message hang with that single gray check. Lonely as a promise nobody meant to keep. The building across the street is a bar facing west. High windows like glossy eyes. And if I lean just right over the balcony rail, I can see the door where the warm smudge of light kisses the drizzle and the bouncer's stamp darkens wrists like quiet bruises. We picked it once as our halfway place. Close to her office, close to the train, close to the version of us that used to stay until last call, touching knees under the table, inventing jokes no one else would find funny. When the bar's sign sputtered from amber to a steadier gold. When a group in wet coats shook themselves like dogs and filed inside. When a couple paused to kiss against the brick. I told myself I'd just look until she arrived. Then I'd shut the curtain and be decent and let tonight be what she promised. It was 8:42 when she appeared, holding her umbrella like a sword she'd stopped believing in. Hair pinned in a way that meant she cared about impressions. My chest loosened in anticipatory relief because here she was. She picked the bar as a starting point. Maybe she wanted to surprise me. Maybe she got me the thing we'd joked about but never bought. She closed the umbrella, shook her wrist free, smoothed her coat lapel. And then he came around from the curb like a punchline that hurts. A man whose silhouette I recognized before my brain let me admit it. The colleague she'd mentioned twice as an afterthought. The harmless +1 to office lunches. The name filed in my head under the soft categories that don't require worry. He didn't touch her at first, and for a split second I wrote the mercy script I've saved since childhood. Coincidence? 2 people with umbrellas cannot avoid entering the same door together. Cities make strangers share entrances the way storms make strangers share awnings. But the body doesn't lie. Hers shifted half an inch toward him, like a fence post leaning into a neighbor's shade, and his face did the soft, practiced grin people use when they already know how the evening will end. I felt it in my gums, a brittle fizz, as they handed their coats to the hostess, and he graced her lower back with a hand that hovered but didn't withdraw, as if the ghost of ownership would suffice until a quieter corner. I could have turned away then, kept my dignity safe in the dark like a folded sweater, but some nights demand witness. I watched them glide to a table along the window, and the bar's interior made a little aquarium of them. 2 fish I once thought I owned because I'd picked the bowl and fed the flakes. She laughed, the one that sits in the throat like a bell. And he leaned in with the blank boldness of a man who's been given permission long before tonight. The bartender poured 2 things amber and clean. They clinked, and she looked momentarily toward the glass, toward the city, toward maybe the notion of me, then past it. My phone buzzed against the balcony railing. Her name lighting the screen at last, and I let it dance itself to silence. The candle in the kitchen burrowed down into its own wax. The risotto thickened into regret. I felt both old and dangerously awake. If betrayal is a blade, the first cut is not when it enters. It's when you realize you've been guiding the hand that holds it. The story I wanted to live tonight, our story, with real effort and apologies, was now a museum display behind glass. Look but don't touch, touch but don't feel. So I did what I do when I'm trapped. I made lists. Things I know she is here. He is here. I am 112 feet away measuring the distance with my ribs. Things I don't know. Why now? Why him? Whether this is the beginning or merely the confession of a long-running truth. I took a photo because future me would demand proof when memory softened it into something survivable. They ordered again. She took off her earrings and dropped them in her purse like a shrug. His hand covered hers, and this time there was no hover, only claim. I thought of the words she'd said this morning over coffee. Tonight is ours, finally. And I understood that ours had become a plural I wasn't invited to. A dinner table with one extra chair I didn't know existed. The rain let up. The street shined itself like bone. Soon the door breathed them out, and the city seemed to widen to make space for their arrangement. They didn't hail a ride. They walked, past the flower shop closing its gate, past the bakery with the